crackling sound of the radio jolted me from my drowsy state. "Ethan, come in, station, over." I picked up the radio receiver, my heart tightening at the urgency in the dispatcher's voice. "This is Ethan, go ahead. We've got a situation, Ethan. A couple has gone missing after heading into the forest against our warnings. They were last seen near the old trail. We need you to check it out." I sighed, the weight of responsibility settling heavily on my shoulders. I started up the patrol car and headed towards the old trail. The moon hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced ominously across the forest floor. As I arrived at the campsite, I was shocked. The scene before me was one of chaos. Tents torn, camping gear scattered, and bloodstains smeared across the ground. Something was very wrong.
Welcome back, thrill seekers. Today we are diving into another captivating episode of our top 5 park ranger tales, spotlighting the year 1982. We kick things off with story number 5 today, and we'll unveil a new tale daily throughout this week. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. Now back to the story.
I sighed, the weight of responsibility settling heavily on my shoulders. I stepped out of the car, my flashlight cutting through the darkness as I surveyed the area. The signs were clear. There had been a violent struggle, and it didn't look like an ordinary animal attack. There was a sense of brutality, an almost calculated aggression. My gut twisted with unease as I followed the drag marks leading into the forest. It was as if an unseen force had pulled the bodies away, leaving behind a trail of dread. I hesitated for a moment, my mind conjuring up images of what might have taken them, but I couldn't let fear paralyze me. I had a duty to find out what happened. With my flashlight cutting a path through the darkness, I ventured deeper into the forest. The trees seemed to close in around me, their branches whispering secrets that I couldn't decipher. Every rustle, every distant hoot of an owl sent my heart racing. Hours passed, and the forest seemed to become a labyrinth of shadows and uncertainty. I could feel eyes on me, an unseen presence that watched from the depths. The air grew colder, and a sensation of being followed gnawed at the edges of my consciousness. Just as panic threatened to consume me, I stumbled upon a clearing. Moonlight bathed the scene in an eerie glow, revealing a horrifying tableau. The bodies of the missing couple lay lifeless on the ground, their eyes wide with terror. But it wasn't the sight of their lifeless forms that made my blood run cold. It was the symbols carved into the earth around them. I knelt down, my flashlight shaking as I examined the markings. They were unlike anything I had ever seen. A language older than time, a message from the beyond. The realization hit me like a freight train. This wasn't an animal attack. It was something far more sinister, something not of this world. As the wind whispered through the trees, a sense of doom settled over me. I knew I needed to get out of there, to alert the authorities and bring them back to investigate. But just as I turned to leave, a guttural growl echoed through the clearing. I swung around, my flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. What I saw defied reason, a creature unlike any I had ever encountered. Its eyes glowed with intelligence, its body a twisted fusion of human and beast. It let out another guttural snarl, and my fight-or-flight instinct kicked in. I ran like I'd never run before, my heart pounding in my chest. The forest seemed to warp around me, the trees bending and shifting as if to thwart my escape. Every step felt like an eternity, and yet the creature's snarls were always close behind. I stumbled out of the forest, my breath ragged, and didn't stop until I reached my patrol car. I slammed the door shut and peeled out of there. The memory of those glowing eyes seared into my mind. I revved the engine, my grip on the steering wheel tight as I accelerated away from that dreadful clearing. For a moment, I allowed myself to believe that I had escaped the horrors of that nightmarish place, that the creature was nothing but a figment of my imagination. But reality crashed back in with a vengeance. As I rounded a bend, my headlights revealed a chilling sight. The creature stood in the middle of the road, its eyes fixated on me. I slammed on the brakes, my heart racing as the car screeched to a halt. I was trapped, my mind a whirlwind of fear and disbelief. I watched in shock as the creature approached the car, its massive form radiating an aura of hatred. My mind screamed at me to flee, but I was paralyzed, unable to tear my gaze away from those glowing eyes. And then, just as swiftly as it had appeared, the creature vanished. The road ahead lay empty, as if the confrontation had never occurred. I released a breath I didn't realize I had been holding, a glimmer of hope sparking within me. Perhaps it was over. Perhaps I had outrun my fate, but hope was short-lived. As I continued down the road, a growing sense of unease crept over me. My pulse quickened, and the sensation of being watched returned with a vengeance. And then, in a cruel twist of fate, the creature reappeared before me. My heart plummeted, a wave of despair crashing over me. The creature was impossible to escape. It gestured towards the clearing, its message hauntingly familiar. The creature looked straight into my eyes, and I felt that the creature was giving me a message that I had to bury the remains of the missing couple, to lay them to rest beneath the earth. My stomach churned at the thought, at the prospect of handling lifeless bodies with my bare hands. I drove back to the clearing, my breath hitching as I gazed upon the remains. Their faces were twisted in eternal anguish, their final moments frozen in time. With trembling hands I began to dig, each shovelful of dirt a painful reminder of my own helplessness. Tears mixed with soil as I worked, my heart heavy with grief and a growing sense of dread. It felt as if the very ground held the weight of my guilt, as if every inch of earth was a witness to my past actions. I felt like a puppet, my actions dictated by a force beyond my comprehension. When the task was finally done, I stood back, my body trembling. The creature approached me once more, its presence a mix of menace and sorrow. Its hand came to rest on my head, and in an instant memories flooded my mind. Memories of a time long ago, of a young boy who had committed an act of cruelty without understanding the consequences. I remembered the cubs, the innocent lives I had taken. The pieces of the puzzle fell into place, and I saw the tragedy that had unfolded in this very spot years ago. The creature's cubs, buried by its own hand, just as I had done now. A profound sadness emanated from the creature's eyes, a sadness that mirrored the guilt that gnawed at my own heart. We were both bound by our actions, both trapped in a cycle of suffering and revenge. The creature's vengeance was driven by pain, just as my own was driven by remorse. As I started to move away, the weight of the creature's gaze lingered on me. And then, in an instant, it attacked. Its claws tore through the air, finding their mark with deadly precision. Pain erupted through my body and darkness closed in around me. In those final moments, as my life slipped away, I couldn't help but wonder if this was the beast's final act of retribution, if my death would finally break the cycle that had consumed us both. As the world faded into oblivion, I could still see those haunting, sorrowful eyes, and I understood that our fates were forever intertwined in a dance of darkness and regret.
That's all for now. Please leave us a comment and let us know what you think. Please also like and subscribe. Thank you.